Hi folks, Farmer Bob here. It's that time of year here in New England where we get a lot of questions about how do I clean my tower? I want to bring it inside. I've been growing outside all summer, I've loved it. It's time to start harvesting and bringing it inside. So what we want to show you is our way that we've found that works really well for us, okay? First of all, we highly recommend that you harvest all your plants. You don't want to just bring the tower inside and expect it to keep growing. It will, but it's almost guaranteed you're going to have bugs on it now if it's been outside. They're in a symbiotic relationship with predators, and so the bugs probably haven't gotten out of control. But as soon as you bring the tower inside with the bugs on the plants, they will explode and you'll have a big problem, and it's not worth it. Believe me, I've done it. I don't want to do it again. So what's really hard though is a plant like this rosemary. I'm not going to harvest this tower and take it apart for you. But eventually I'm going to have to take this rosemary plant, and it's been growing now for a couple of years. Now, it's tempting to say, well, I want to bring it inside. The plant's doing great. But no, don't do it. It's going to probably have bugs on it, and they'll jump to whatever the next plant next to it is. And so just don't do that, okay? So before we get started, a few things that you should have on hand. And if my videographer can show you, vinegar, just plain distilled white vinegar, okay? We're going to want some bleach. You're going to want some citric acid. This is a food grade, and because we're growing food in these towers, I suggest using the food grade. I found this on Amazon. You're going to want some kind of a soap, a mild dish soap eventually. I like Dr. Bronner's, but there's lots of other options out there. You're going to want a little Tupperware thing to put the washers and nuts in. Sometimes things are stiff. Pliers are sometimes helpful, okay? So have some of those. And obviously, if you're going to be cutting some of these larger plants, you're going to want some shears to do that. At the end, you may have some debris left in the tower pots. A simple nylon kitchen brush works very well, okay? So those are some of the things you want to have on hand, ready to go. The first thing we're going to do is empty the reservoir. Everybody, when they get their tower, gets one of these clear plastic tubes. And a lot of people have no idea what the heck this is for. So what we do, maybe you can come closer with the camera and show, I'm going to put it right on the nipple of the shower cap. Easier said than done. We'll try the other end. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to plug in the pump. And now the pump pumps water instead of down the tower, it comes out of this. I forgot to mention the 5-gallon pail as the things you're going to want to have on hand. So I'm going to take this and just pour it in there. And so now it's emptying it out. It works pretty well. If you're, it doesn't go that quickly. So if you get bored of watching this happen, then what I suggest, and the other thing that I found is, usually when I do this project, I get wet. So be prepared to get wet. So what I found is a simple bilge pump that I got at Home Depot. They're not expensive, and it pumps out things much quicker than that other pump. And so you just pump, 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 pump. And the other thing you want to make sure is there's no point in wasting this water. This has got nutrients left over, and that's, other plants, and then you get wet. Other plants are going to love it in your yard. So what I'm going to do is take this and just dump it out on the lawn. if it wasn't pouring rain, I could put it in my potted plants, but they don't really need it. And then at this point, you want to make sure you unplug the pump. I did because I was using that, I didn't want to use it anymore. And that's important because you're dealing with water and electricity. So I've unplugged it from the outlet. This is a place where you might need the pliers. Sometimes these connections get tight, so I would suggest just, if you need the pliers, you can just unfreeze it. That comes out. Put that down there for now. We're going to stand up the tower, but I don't want to wreck this plastic. So I'm going to be gentle and put that on a towel. You can use cardboard or a piece of plywood. I'm just going to dump the rest of this out. Okay, so it's empty, it's dirty. So what we're going to do is start filling it. The hose is another important thing. How else are you going to get wet if you don't have a hose? Okay, so while that's filling, I'm going to go ahead and put the pump in there with a blue tube. You don't need to wash the cord, but all that you want to get wet. And then we unscrew the shower cap, or the nuts to get to the shower cap. And I'm going to go to my Tupperware. Put those in there so they don't get lost. And so one trick that I found, if it's stiff like that, like a sharp hit like that usually will release things, and it doesn't have to always be right where you wanted it to. And then I'll just stand over here and remove the parts. Save the net pots. These are reusable. If they're in good shape, you can reuse them. We're going to clean them, however. All the plant debris, I'm just going to save and put in my compost pile. There we go. So you can see how that just came out like that. I'm going to rip off the roots, save them for my compost. The rock wool you can either throw away or put in your compost. Okay. Plant debris, compost, save the net pots, put the parts in. So these are all the roots that have been keeping your plants alive. They tend to go all over the place. If you're growing mint, that would be way more drastic than this. The mint roots literally go everywhere in the tower. Be aware of that if you want to go there. And so that's what we do. Let's see, did I miss anything? Yes. So one thing that I want to show you is that when you have a large plant, like, can you walk back over here, please? Like this shard plant, which we let get out of control. You can see that it's starting to bend a little bit, the plastic. There's no way, if you harvest this, that you're going to get the root ball out. So don't worry about it. As you disassemble, like I'm showing you now, the root ball will be exposed and you can just remove it, okay? So I'm going to keep going here. I guess I removed that screw. Okay, so just keep going, throwing things in there. fit in this tub easily. That's how it was shipped to you. If you're doing the home, that's going to be a little bit different, but most people have not been growing with a home outside, so that's why I'm focusing on the flex. Okay, so now I've got some water in here. Now I'm going to start adding the soaps, the vinegar. So a whole gallon really is going to be used for this operation. So I'm going to pour it right in there. And this kiddie pool, which I failed to mention, is something we also use for the deck of the flex. I had already put some vinegar in there, so I'm not putting a lot in there. But these kiddie pools, we got that at a Facebook freebie giveaway here in town. They're really useful for doing this. And if your kid or dog wants to swim, great. I'm not putting a lot of bleach in, but I am going to pour something like that. And the idea is to try to, if there are any eggs, insect eggs that are in the in the materials that's in the plastic, I want to make sure they get killed. For the citric acid, we've got these scoops with the tower. I'm basically just going to do one scoop right in there. Definitely rinse this out before you start putting nutrients in it. I've already put some in there. Okay, so that's just going to keep going. Remove. Now, one of the other common questions I get on Tower Garden Talk with Farmer Bob Facebook page is people say, how do I get that bottom section back on? Well, don't take it off. You can remove it, but you don't really need to. And it is a pain in the butt to get back on. So if you don't have to, don't remove it. The kiddie pool is great because the whole thing fits right in there, sinks down. So what I'm going to do is let this soak. Here's those parts. I'm going to let this soak for overnight. The pump, I'm going to let soak. I should probably show you what's in the pump. So this is an older style pump. The new ones are very similar. They're a little smaller. But they don't have a filter. So this one has a filter. There's gunk in there. Sometimes they're even worse than this, and the filter sometimes is gross. So you want to clean this all out, so I just throw that in there. The pump has rubber impellers and stuff in there, so I don't want to soak it for a really long time, but I do want to at least get it rinsed. So after a few hours, I'll take the pump out and I'll thoroughly rinse it in the kitchen sink. And then we'll be good to go. The rest of the stuff will soak overnight, and then it's pretty amazingly magic how this stuff will just sort of disappear. And tomorrow morning, it's really not a whole lot of work. But if you find things are a little stubborn, I'm going to take my Dr. Bronner's and just scrub away. And you can see how already it's coming out pretty easily. Tomorrow, that will be, probably I wouldn't even have to do that. So let that keep filling. Let's see, what am I missing? Make sure you rinse really well all these parts. There's soap, there's bleach, there's citric acid. Another common question I get on the Facebook page is, how come I just cleaned my tower, I filled it up, and the water is all foamy? How come? What's going on? Well, it's probably because the person did not completely rinse everything. All this soap obviously if it's still attached to the pots, the sections, as the water cascades down, it'll rinse itself, and then it'll start foaming in the reservoir. So make sure you rinse really carefully. That gets all the bleach. You don't want bleach in there, and the soap. If you have a dolly, you could zoom in with the dollies. If you're going to bring that inside, make sure you clean that as well. There's mostly the issues I have are spiders. Most insects aren't going to be around on the dolly, but the spiders like to hang out there. So make sure you rinse that thoroughly, otherwise you're going to have spiders all over your house, and some people don't like that. That's basically it. We're going to post a link to this video on Tower Garden Talk with Farmer Bob, the Facebook page. But for now, happy growing and enjoy your indoor winter growing.